Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, June 28th. We're wrapping up the month of June, halfway through the year already. And the 4th of July is right around the corner. I can't wait for this weekend to come by. We have a big party every year. So you're all invited if you happen to be in Staten Island, New York next weekend. So you're welcome to join us. But we got a great show for everybody tonight. Tom Innamarato and Neil Benderman of Warhead are our guests. We'll be talking to the guys in about a half hour or so. We'll get on some music between now and then. We got a couple of news items to go over. We'll do that in the second half of the show when it's just me by myself here. And right there, Black Lace on the attack. I miss Marianne. We used to talk all the time, and about a year and a half ago, she kind of like checked out, and I haven't heard from her since then. So I tried calling her a few times, didn't get any response back. But I miss her. We used to have a lot of great conversations together. But that's life, right? We'll move on. All right, we're going to keep the music flowing here because we got our two guests calling in about 25 minutes or so. So we'll get on what we can between now and then. How about a little Wings of Steel? Man, they did such a great job on this record. I mean, I've been playing the hell out of it over the last year, and I got to get them back on the show again. So here you go, To Die in Holy War. Well, I haven't played Brain Fever in so long. I forgot just how good those albums were. Right there, Danger in the Night. Before that, Attack of the Hermit. I think Alex described the sound best in the chat and what he just said because that first album really is all over the place, but it is so good and in my top 10 albums of all time. And we kicked off that set with The Wings of Steel, To Die in a Holy War. Man, I'm exhausted. My wife and I went to New Orleans in the first half of the week for about 4 days, and then we just spent the last 3 days in Connecticut, where we go every year and we do our little food trip where we go to the place and Frank Pepe's Pizza and all those great places that are out in Connecticut. So we just got back a few hours ago, and I'm trying to get the show up and running and everything squared away. So just bear with me here if we have a little lapse in time. But I think we got everything kind of covered here. But we got a great show tonight. Tom and Neil from Warhead will be calling in about 10 minutes. Ever since Skype went out of business, because we had the Skype business account and we used that setup for the show to take all the phone calls and everything. It worked so great all the years that I was using it. They went out of business last year. I could not find a suitable replacement. Every place that I found was so difficult to use. The site I use now is relatively easy, but it's almost impossible to make conference calls or three-way calls on it. You have to have another app and another service, and then you have to have something else, and I just cannot figure it out. I am not computer literate by any means necessary. The way I'm gonna have to do a three-way call from that one is like just using my cell phone and holding the microphone to the station up to it because I don't know how else to do it anymore. I know I could probably do it on Zoom or on Microsoft Teams. I just haven't tried it yet on a live show, making sure it works well. So I think I got an interview coming up next week, which is really like one of those throwaway interviews. I have to do it for one of the PR people that I work with, but it's not a band that I would ever air on the show. It's like a new metal type of band, but I have to do it because when you want to get the classic metal bands and acts, sometimes you get interviewed ones that you don't really care so much about. So that's what's going to happen next week. So maybe I'll test it out and try them. But Tom and Neil will be calling in about 10 minutes or so. We'll do one more time. I want to get to, we'll talk about it later because I have the time right now. But over the last couple of weeks, I'm starting to see all these bands that have been canceled from festivals, upcoming shows, because they've said something that I guess somebody didn't like, and next thing you know, the promoters are canceling them. This is just like what was going on a few weeks ago with the drummers from a lot of those bands like Riot and Warlord. I think there was another band. They were canceling all their appearances because they didn't like their political views. And now something else is going on where they just don't like what the singers are saying up on stage or one of the other band members, and they're canceling them off for shows and festivals. I mean, this is getting crazy. I know it's not the 80s anymore, and the young kids today just don't think the way we do, or live the life the way we did back then. But it's just getting a little crazy, in my opinion. Some of the stuff that was said and done is completely wrong. I'm not agreeing with it or taking these band sides or the people's sides that the bands are complaining about, But we'll talk about it later. There's just too much to get into right now because we're going to talk to the guys in a couple of minutes, and I want to play some more music between now and then. But this is the last show for June. June is wrapping up tonight. We have our 4th of July special that's going to air this Thursday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, a holiday matinee, America 250. We do it every year, not the 250 show. It only comes along every 250 years, and I'm pretty sure I won't be around for the next big celebration. But don't forget to tune in 12 o'clock this Thursday for that show. I know Christian sent me his request. Unfortunately, the show was already pre-recorded because I was away for the last couple of days. I'm going away again for a few days this week, so I wouldn't have time, so I pre-recorded the show. But we'll get on Christian's request tonight. We'll do that for him. We'll do that in a little bit. But how about we do? Let's play some Warhead right now because the band should be calling in right after the song. I think if it's about that time, and we'll talk to them all about what's going on. So how about we do something off the first demo tape, that classic demo, Path of Destruction. how great is that? I mean, what good quality for a demo from the mid '80s, right? Most demos didn't sound that good back then. So we're gonna wait for the guys to call in. We got a few minutes before that happens. I saw that Blaze Bailey was saying that he's trying to make it work out so he can get to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And even though none of the Iron Maiden guys are showing up, but him and Dennis Stratton want to be there. And I can get that. I completely understand it. But I'm pretty sure Iron Maiden doesn't want those two guys being there to represent the band. Two ex-members of the band, especially an ex-lead singer and a guitar player only played on one record, 50 years ago. But that's just the way life goes, I guess, right? They want a little moment of fame, and I don't blame them. But I mean, I don't find it to be a big deal to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know what bands do. I mean, the earlier bands from the '50s and '60s, that was a big thing back then to get recognized something like that. But the whole thing about metal in the '80s was just being rebellious, and you didn't care about being nominated for an award or getting into the Hall of Fame or anything like that. So I don't see it being that big of a deal for Iron Maiden or a lot of bands. Priest ate it up. They complained about it a lot. So did Kiss. But Kiss, they talked about not showing up, but they did anyway. So there you go. That's the way life goes. All right, let's see if the guys call in any minute now. I wish I could make a conference call out. I know I complained about that before, but I didn't get a chance to do that. All right, we'll just hang on a little bit and see. They should be calling in any minute now. It's almost 6:30. And hey, you know what? We got a great bunch of shows coming up for the month of July. I'm booking guests right now. Next week, we were supposed to have Air Force on next week, but they had to rearrange the schedule, so we're going to do it the following week. We'll have them on the show. And next week, Sean Murphy, who wrote a great book about the Ottawa metal scene, he's going to jump in and fill in that spot for us next week, as well as Greg Frazier from Stormforce. You know him from a lot of other bands over the years. So we'll be talking to those two guys next week live on the show. Don't forget to tune in, and we'll get Air Force on the following week after that. I know Iman's been asking about Immortal Soul. I just spoke to them. We're going to set up a Zoom call and make that happen probably in the next week or so. So hold on, Iman. The band's coming on. I'm getting them on for you. Or Immortal Soul, I'm sorry. And I know he asked for another band last week. I'm working on that one right now also. We're going to try to square that away for the month of July. So bear with me here and we'll make that all happen. I know that I was hoping Christian would have stopped in tonight for a little bit. He's probably exhausted. He was at that Glam Fest yesterday, I believe, in Queens. So I wanted to find out what was going on with that festival and how all the bands were in there. It looked like it had a pretty decent turnout, in my opinion, for a relatively small club in Queens. A lot of people showed up, so I wanted to find out how it was, what was going on with that. But he didn't pop in this week. He's probably exhausted and hungover from yesterday, so we'll talk to him about that next week. And that's one of the things I want to talk to about later about this festival. Somebody from another band was complaining about something that happened at the festival, and she's right about what happened and it shouldn't have happened. But I just find this one to be a complainer about everything. So we'll get to that in the second half of the show. But hang on, I think the band's calling in right now. Let me connect them, and we'll get this going. Tom, Neil, it's Mike. Are you there?
From. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Tom, Neil, it's Mike. Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad we worked. I'm glad it worked out because I can't figure out how to make conference calls on this new system we have. So I apologize. I'm glad you were able to connect and make it happen.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that's great. It's great to have you on here. And it's more important that there's a new record out by Warhead. It's old, but it's new in a way. So I'm happy that this Live at Lemoore record from '84 came out. People get to feel what it was like to see you guys live on vinyl.
Awesome.
Man, I remember being at that show and it was a killer night. And, I've seen you guys quite a few times over the years back then. I mean, for the people, Tom was on here before. We spoke all about Warhead. For the people that, weren't around back then and just tuning in now, let's talk about the band in the very beginning. How did it happen? How did it start up? How did you two guys make this thing work?
Okay, so I had a band. We did a Priest and Maiden, and that's how I met Mike, the drummer for Warhead. He filled in for us one night, and had original music, and so I said, let me find a bass player, and I went to 48th Street, Sam Ash, 48th Street, and I asked Jose Ferro, who was behind the counter, and I asked him. He's the bass player for Screaming Lords. And I asked him if he knew anybody, and he introduced me to Neil. So that's how I met Neil.
Jose, a good friend of the show, he was also an agent back in the day, too. He had his other band. Very good guy. Very nice guy. Yeah. So that's how you two guys hooked up. So Neil, you guys got together. How did it come about that, you said, how are we going to make this band happen? What are we going to do musically? How is it going to work?
So, Tom and I came from similar backgrounds. We listened to the same type of music. The three of us got together, and we decided we were just going to play original music. We didn't want to go the cover band route or even start playing a cover tune. The first night we were together, we wrote a song which turned out to be "Whore," and it was just easy for us. We all just felt the same. We started playing and we just gelled, and we started rehearsing every night. And Tom, correct me, I think we wrote a song almost every night. We were writing new material, and this was before Ron, the singer, joined the band. So we had a bunch of material, and we didn't even have a singer yet. But we were just perfecting our music.
And back then, you're saying you didn't want to do the cover route, but a lot of bands had to go that route to get into clubs back then because that's what clubs wanted, because that's what brought in the crowds to drink and spend money.
Yeah. So look, before I met Tom, I was playing in a Motorhead cover band, and we played. We were really into the hardcore scene, so we were playing a lot of the hardcore clubs in the city. Tom and Mike were playing in a Judas Priest cover band. And, look, you did it when you were young because that's the music you loved and you wanted to play that music. But when Warhead started, the three of us, Tom, Mike, and myself, were just at the point where we had so much in us that we wanted to get it out originally. Original music was just coming out of us.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Tom, I mean, did you kind of know what direction musically the band was going to go in? Was there a specific sound you were looking to create or have, or because it was kind of early on in the metal scene, and a lot of bands were just starting out, a lot of the sounds were just starting to develop. Did you know what you wanted to do musically with the band?
Yeah, basically, the riffs that I wrote. It's funny because as we wrote the songs, we arranged them, and it just stayed that way. So when Ron joined the band, he just sang over the songs as they were. And, I've been in many bands and I've done the whole thing with, taking the songs apart and reconfiguring them for the singer, so that the singer's happy with, the end result. However, with Warhead, we wrote the songs and Ron just sang over them. And in addition to that, the 6 songs that we have now that are going to be our first studio release, we recorded these 6 songs live to tape in 1985. So, I mean, live to tape, meaning we set up in this guy's living room and we played, and he recorded us. No stopping, no re-recording, no solos, no rhythm section. We played, the 3 of us, like an instrument itself,
yeah.
an entity in itself. So we recorded those 6 songs, and I lost those songs. I didn't know what happened to those. Those are the songs we sent to Shmulik Avigal because we parted ways with Ron, and we were looking for a new singer. And Jack Starr from Virgin Steel, he turned me on to Shmulik in the band Picture in Denmark.
Yeah.
I loved the guy's voice, so we sent him the tape, and he came to the States. Carl Kennedy will say he came for the rods, but that's baloney. I played with Carl also with Shmulik. But so he came to the States, and then I listened to him, and that was the end of Warhead. So had I not listened to him, we had like 6 contracts. 6 independent contracts. We had interest from Atlantic. We had a lot going for us. But those 6 songs, now, what I was about to say was those 6 songs, now we have Michael Santosiero. He sings for Carl Kennedy. And he's doing the vocals on those songs, and they're exactly as they were recorded live to tape, and so they're arranged okay, So you heard the first song, "Children of War,"
Yeah.
and so he just sang over it. He didn't say make the verse longer or do this or that. That's exactly how we recorded it, and he sang over it. And Neil wrote the lyrics, by the way.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a much easier way to have something done and recorded because, a lot of bands can have a lot of problems with the singers. Not to throw singers under the bus, but, they get a little temperamental and they want things done a
Yeah.
certain way. So is it better to do it the way you did it with those recordings where you just put it live on tape and they had to just sing over it?
It worked out that way. That's like I said,
Yeah.
I've been in many bands and I've gone through different ways of writing. However, with us, it just worked out that way.
No, I think Tom, that we were fortunate. Well, first with having Ron, that Ron lived in Pennsylvania. We rehearsed in the music building in Queens, and he never came to rehearsal with us. We just gave him the tape of the music that we rehearsed, and he sang over it. And Michael is actually doing the same thing now. It's funny, like when you work with a true professional like that, we're giving like the Children of War, the song we just put out. We gave that to Michael, and he just ran with it. And now our next single, which should be coming out hopefully in a week or two, it's called World at War. We just listened to the rough mix, and it is killer.
Yeah,
Mike, I can't wait for you to hear it.
If you like Children of War, Mike,
Yeah.
you're gonna love World at War.
I'm sure I will. I mean, everything you guys do, I like. You guys, I was just playing a song off the first demo before you came on, and I was saying how amazing the quality sounds for something that was recorded back in 1984. I mean, it almost has like a record sound to
Yeah.
it. I don't know if you agree with that because everybody's always particular and picky about their music and when they record stuff, but the quality of that tape. I mean, I literally played it off the cassette from 40 years ago, and it sounds amazing still. I mean,
Wow.
it's just incredible. I mean, how did it come? How did you record that first demo? Was it the same way, like live to tape?
So yeah, that first demo we recorded at Bolognese Studios, which is where the Twisted Sister recorded their first album. And the owner of the studio, when we had the rhythm tracks done, he went nuts. He came into the room, he couldn't believe it. He's like, "We have to get Dee to sing on this." And but Dee wasn't in the country. I don't know where he was. He wasn't available. But that's how he felt about it. He was like blown away by it. But yeah, we recorded at Bolognese on Long Island.
Yeah,
And,
what a great sounding tape that was, and it still holds up till today. I mean, that's what I love about good music. It never dies out, it never goes away. But now you guys are together. You got this lineup, and like you were saying, Ron being in Pennsylvania, that was kind of not that was not it was kind of rare back then. Everybody tried to get members that lived near them or within a few minute commute, or it didn't happen like that. So was it difficult working with somebody that was in another state? There was no computers back then, no MP3s, nothing like that.
well, obviously, it wasn't difficult because he wasn't there. He didn't. We rehearsed like 6 nights a week. I swear to God, if you saw us live, just think in your mind that he never rehearsed with us.
Wow.
Which is it's kind of odd.
Yeah, he would show, like when we did Lemoore, he would show up that night at the gig and get everything perfect. It was crazy, but that's the way when you're working with a professional like that, it just like the three of us, Tom, Mike, and myself, we practice every single night, and we perfected our sound, our stage show, and Ron just came, did the show, and just took control of the audience. Man, he was that good.
The funny thing about Ron is that so we had the whole Warhead thing. We came up with the name Warhead. We named ourselves like back in 1982, 83. Missiles were it was a big deal.
Yeah.
So we named ourselves after the missiles. I was MX, Neil was Titan, and Mike was Minuteman. And Ron came into the band as the commander. And the first song he writes is the whore.
Who was Minuteman? Who'd you say was Minuteman?
Mike,
the drummer.
Mike, the drummer.
Oh, okay. It must be so with the name, because that's what my wife calls me too. But it's more for being in bed, not for being in a band.
No, he was named after the missile.
Yeah, so was I.
Oh boy.
But you would never know. Listen to the music, and I've seen you guys live, back in the day. You would never know that he just showed up for the shows like that and had it done that well.
It was crazy.
Was it frustrating for you guys when you were in the studio without him? Because you got to kind of be together sometimes to tinker with things and change things around. But was it just the way you got used to working?
Not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. Not at all. I'd come with riffs and we'd bang them together. It was just like nonstop. We wrote a lot. So.
I guess that's how you got a good lineup when everybody works together that well.
It has a lot to do with writing a song, like where the drummer plays his part, the bass player plays. Like those Mike and Neil played to the riffs that I played, what they felt. You know what I mean? It's not like I told them play an A, do this change. They played it the way they felt. That's what makes a band solid. Like gives a band its solid solidity, basically,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like
how long did it go on in the beginning? I mean, was it like a 2 or 3 year run for the band? Or how long was it with Mike in
I
the
think
band at least? I mean, with Ron.
how long?
So I
Two
would
years?
say a little less than 2 years. Um, yeah, because I think we started, Tom. I would say like '83, and then we by '85 we disbanded.
Right.
And
So
you know,
Mike, like we didn't play a lot of shows. We played. What did we play, Neil? We played like a show with Cities and Virgin Steel at some like some place somewhere
Valley Stream Theater.
in Valley
We
Stream
played
Theater.
Cheers.
We played Cheers. The Cheers show we opened for Lee Aaron. I don't know how we got that gig, but Bob Muldowney from Kick-Ass Monthly
Yeah.
he gave us a 9.5 for that. Like the write-up he gave us was amazing. And
No, that
and
show was
everybody,
huge.
yeah. So Laurent Ram called me 25 years after that show. He was at that show. He called me from France. He lives in France,
Yeah.
and he featured us in his magazine, Snake Pit. But like he was there. Like there was a lot of people that later on became something in music that saw us at that show, and they all said the same thing. They all said, "You blew me away." That's what they said about the show.
But
Which is,
just backtracking 1 second, Laurent Ramondier, that's his name. He's was the editor of Snake Pit magazine.
Yeah.
He's the one that brought us back together. He found us. This was back in 2017, I think it was, right?
yes.
So almost 10 years ago, I get a letter from this guy in France saying that he was a huge fan of Warhead, and he found all of us, and he'd like to do a magazine interview, and that's what started the whole resurgence of Warhead. Tom and I reconnected, and we found this tape with the 6 songs that were unreleased, and this whole thing has been 10 years in the making. And again, I credit Laurent for starting this. Really?
Yeah, Laurent contacted me in 2017. He said, "I've been looking for you for 25 years. He couldn't find us. He couldn't find us because he was looking for MX, Titan, and Minuteman. He didn't have our names."
Yeah. It's crazy.
Laurent's a good guy.
These six songs, we could Neil and I could have re-recorded them, so that the sound quality is what everybody wants, perfect sound quality, and so everybody cries about, oh, it's not perfect. Well, it's not perfect. However, it is live, and the only other band that I heard actually recorded live to tape was Van Halen on their first album. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard they recorded live, and even if they did, they had a 24 track. They didn't have a 4-track Fostex like we had,
Yeah.
So what I'm point I'm trying to make is that the vibe is just so awesome on the 6 songs. Neil and I were listening to them without vocals for how long, Neil? For months. That's all I was listening to.
Yeah.
I was just
And
blown away that I played guitar like that. I'm like, holy cow! I mean, without how many bands can do that? And play the solo, like play everything straight, and listen to the parts when you listen to the music. Listen to Mike's drum fills. Everything is just like that.
Yeah.
That was us. We all played for the song.
You guys definitely had a great sound. And speaking of Laurent, I had you on my show back in 2017. I was the one that gave Laurent your contact info.
Oh, really? That's how it started?
Yeah,
Thank you.
because you were doing America. I think you had American Mafia going on at that time, around then also. So I gave you contact info because I used to talk to Laurent all the time. But it's great that you guys did this again and you're doing it again and you have all this music coming out. But going back to those earlier days, I mean, you record the demo tape. You have something like to shop around right now. I mean, did you try to shop it around to different labels back at the time? Some of the underground ones, some of the major ones, because I felt like you guys were in a position that you could have went any direction. Like an underground label could have signed you and it went to the next level, or you could have went right to the big leagues and went from there.
Well, I think that was probably the reason why we started to implode, because we had so much interest and we were getting pulled in so many different directions. And I think it was lack of management. We really, like Tom, we had this guy, Joel Peskin, who was sort of managing us, but I don't remember him being around. And I think you were doing more of the legwork with the record companies.
Yes.
because we had interest from every record company that was out at that time. Important, Roadrunner, Combat, Tom, who else? I mean, name them. Everybody was interested in us.
Yes. Well, Shrapnel, Metal Blade,
Yeah.
Megaforce. So, we rehearsed down the hall from Anthrax. And Johnny Z bought some Anthrax had like a room like the five times the size of our room. They all had brand new Marshall stacks, like 3 on each side of the drum riser. Everything was brand new in their room. The PA, everything was like they had money, So Johnny Z bought Metallica over to share their room from L.A. So the three bands, Warhead, Metallica, and Anthrax, we all rehearsed on the same floor in the Queens Music Building.
Yeah.
So,
imagine what that was like, man. That was crazy.
We ran into them. We were like, we saw them every day at rehearsal, basically, But back at that time, Jack Starr introduced me to a lot of labels, which was Megaforce. Megaforce was Johnny Z. So what happened was Metallica was already signed to Megaforce. When they came from L.A., then after they came, he signed Anthrax, and then he gave me a contract for Warhead. Okay, so that was one label that gave me a contract. Also, I had a contract from Metal Blade, from Shrapnel. I met with Barry Coburn from Combat Records. Neil, Mike, and I met with Case Wessels from Roadrunner. He was the CEO of Roadrunner at his office on 27th Street in Manhattan. So we had we had 6 independent labels. Music for Nations was another. And then through my family, I had a contact with Richard Reed at Atlantic Records. And he actually said that there was interest. However, there really wasn't interest for that there wasn't interest for heavy metal in a major label back then. So, but we did hold on to that interest and didn't sign with anybody. So that's why we never signed. And the fact that we only played I don't know how many shows live did we play, Neil? Under 10 shows.
Yeah, I think we did have 3 L'Amour shows.
Right. So we did that show. We did the show opening for Lee Aaron, which a lot of people were at that show because all these heavy metal dudes, you want to see a Canadian Playboy Playmate.
Yeah, she was pretty
metal?
hot.
Of course
she still is.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, everybody.
That's all she had going for her, though.
Yeah.
Everybody was at that show. So if you read Bob Muldowney's review, you'll understand. But everybody was at that show. So we got a lot of notoriety just from playing that show. But when we opened, I think we opened for T.T. Quick at L'Amour in Brooklyn, and then that's when I became friendly with George Parente, who owns the club, and he told me after the first show we played, he said the phone's ringing off the hook. Everybody wants to see the band with the sandbags.
That's right, the sandbags on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had them around the drum riser. So he wanted to manage us. He was managing White Lion, and he wanted to manage us. And that's when we parted ways with Ron, and Shmulik was coming from Denmark, and I said to him, can you foot the bill for him to come over? And he was like, the guy could be an axe murderer. I don't know. That was like the end of my relationship with George Parente.
Yeah.
Because Shmulik came on his own. He came on his own dime, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because they managed White Line, they managed Overkill for a little bit of time. They were just starting to get into that business. And when you talk about Anthrax, Metallica, they didn't break yet. People don't realize they didn't break yet. They were getting a name in the underground scene, but they didn't have any records out
nobodies.
yet.
Yeah.
I don't
know if you remember, Metallica only had a cassette tape out.
Yeah, that was it.
No Life to Leather.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody heard that tape like it was a 1,000 generation tape that I end up getting from a friend. And we're like, wow, who's this new band, man? And then all of a sudden they get signed, Anthrax gets signed. We were right there. We were the next to be signed with Megaforce if we wanted to. But again, it was the lack of management. Look, I was 20 years old. I was a kid, and we were doing these shows. We were playing music that we loved, and we were getting offers from these record companies. We really didn't know what to do, And that's when we started to implode. When when Ron left the band, and then Mike the drummer left the band, and we realized that we lost something. It was
At that time, listen, Mike. Shmulik was like, I was like crazy about the guy. I listened to picture. I'd go to the beach and I'd had my boombox and I would listen to it. I'm like, this is the guy I want to sing for Warhead. But when he came, the guy was like 4 or 5 years older than me. And so when he came here, like I'm like looking at him like he's like a god. You know what I mean? Like he's just got this incredible voice, and I was very impressionable. And he said to me, we need a new rhythm section. And like a fool, I listened to him. And this is, I'm telling you, I had 6 contracts, and I'm like, why would I listen to him if I have all these record contracts? Because I felt that's how highly I thought of him, And then at that time, when he said we needed a new rhythm section, Jack Starr introduced me to Carl Kennedy, who was playing with Craig Gruber, and that's all I had to hear was Craig Gruber because the bass player from Richie
Rainbow.
Blackmore's Rainbow, and the Double Live Gary Moore album. I'm like, Gary, these are two of my like hero guitar players. I'm like, I want to play with that dude, So I went up to Cortland with Shmulik, and we put a band together with them, but it didn't last because they wanted to write the music, and Shmulik said all the music comes from Tom, and Carl almost got into a fist fight with them over that. But
really?
so that was pretty much the end of Warhead, and it's my fault, So but
Listen, it
now
happens.
we're being now we're like rebirthing it now. With these new songs because we're like pretty excited about it. With Michael, Michael's voice is amazing, and he's doing a great job, and the songs sounded really good. So,
Well, I can attest to that. You've sent me quite a few stuff over the years, so the new stuff is sounding great. And some of it's old, but it's relatively new in a way. But yeah, it's hard to lose a singer. I mean, Ron had a very distinctive voice, and a stage
Yeah.
presence, and that's hard. It's hard when that happens. But how long did it go on with Shmulik? How with Sammy before it just kind of ended? Did it go on very long after that?
No, not really. I lived upstate like I don't know how many, like 6 months, basically with Carl and Craig, and then it just like fizzled. Shmulik and I actually wrote our own demo from that. So Carl called it Paris. He called the band Paris. I don't know. He came up with the name. Nothing happened with it. We didn't. I have some rehearsal tapes of the songs that we wrote together, but Shmulik and I wrote 4 songs together on our own, and actually. We came back to Queens Music Building and we recorded at Mick Corey's studio. We did a 4-song demo with Jose Ferro playing bass and Chuck Bonfante on drums. And that became Vision. And I tried to release it, and no independent label wanted only 4 songs. They want a full album.
Yeah.
So nobody wanted to do an EP. So what happened was Shmulik married this girl from Cortland, and she told me she was putting out an album he did with another guitar player from New York, who was actually also Israeli, like Shmulik. So his name was Danny Shetrit, I think his name was. And so they had like a full album that they never released. So they released that on Classic Metal Records in Brazil. And I included my 4 songs as bonus tracks on Division songs. So.
Well,
That's
that
what
was
happened
good.
with Shmulik.
Well, you go upstate with Sammy to Cortland. It's like that Cortland Mafia up there. The whole Rods connection and all those bands like Manowar, they all came from that area, and they're all like really tight. And
Yeah.
even Metallica was up there for a while. A lot of bands stood up in the house over there. I mean, did you feel out of
Yeah.
place over there?
Huh?
Did you feel out of place being up there?
I haven't been up there in I don't know how long.
No, when
How
you were
many
up there,
years?
when you were up there with Shmulik at that time, I mean, did you feel like you were like the odd man out being with that crew?
Pretty much. Well, I was like 5 years younger than them. I was like the kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why, like, when Shmulik said all the ideas come from Tom, Carl didn't like that idea because they had more experience than I had.
Tough
So
situation.
yeah. So it didn't work out basically.
Neil, after the whole war thing came to an end, what happened? Where did you go? Did you do anything after that musically, or did you just kind of pack it in?
So I sort of packed it in. I sort of had a bitter taste we Tom and I tried so hard to keep Warhead going, and it wasn't working out. So I packed it in. I didn't play for many years after that, and I started playing again a few years later, just with friends, like playing cover tunes and everything. But it wasn't until 2017 where I really started playing again, and had this dream with Tom to bring Warhead back. And it's been 10 to almost 10 years that we tried to reunite Warhead. So now it's only one half of the original Warhead, Tom and I,
Right.
and we want to let everybody know that we're back. We're going to release these 6 songs, and then after that we're going to write new songs and maybe come out with a full album and play. This is our future now.
That's
You
going
know,
to be
it's
great.
Mike. Like Ron disappeared, right? And I couldn't get a hold of him. I don't know why, but I remembered where he lived. He lived in Dingman's Ferry in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So I found him. I don't know how I found him, but Neil found him.
Yeah.
Neil started an Instagram page, which is Warhead NYC 1984. So if you go, if anybody listening to this now could go to New York Warhead NYC 1984 and follow us, and find out, as we release these songs now, I believe strongly that these 6 songs, the additional 4 songs now are going to sound as good as the first two, which is going to be a really hot album. 6 songs,
Yeah.
and then if the label says we need more songs, we'll write some new songs to add to that. But that being said, we will have a really hot demo or whatever album ready to release. Um,
I'm sure you guys will, but when it comes to writing new music now and putting out new music after this, I mean, did you kind of have to get back into a certain mindset to remember like what that sound was of Warhead back in the day? I mean, a lot changes over 30, 40 years. So musically, you guys have done so many other different things. Do you kind of encompass that into the
Well,
new songs or keep it traditional Warhead?
no,
well,
but but
we haven't tried to write a new song yet, musically. Yet.
but the thing is, Mike, we've matured as musicians,
Sure.
and our taste in music has evolved.
Yep.
So we're gonna come out with material that is going to be new to everybody. It's going to be a new sound. Of course, look, I still listen to the same music I listened to 40 years ago. So this heavy metal sound is going to come out of Warhead no matter what we do.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be, this is a new version of Warhead, man, and we want everybody to know that we're gonna come out with this. The material that we're coming out with now is even different from the material that you've heard from Warhead. Like
Right.
the six songs,
Yes,
because
we're gonna have it.
we
We
just
don't have
kept.
We don't have Ron's voice anymore.
Yeah, but we
have
have
a
we,
new,
we have
new
Michael.
voice.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he's the new voice of Warhead, and we're just going to keep producing music, man. As long as people want to hear it, we're going to keep coming out with it.
That's the
Well,
most important
Mike,
thing.
it's going to take a while. Michael has like 2 other. He has like a Journey copy band. He's got a Ozzy copy band. So he's like full time. Like he works really hard. He's got a job that he takes all his time. So the weekends are his bands. So I don't know how he finds the time to work on these songs for us. But once he finishes all 6 of these songs, we will shop it. And if a label says we want more songs, then you'll have those 6 songs which were recorded live to tape, the music, right, back in 1985. And then we'll have to add new songs now, which are going to be recorded. The sound quality is going to be, night and day. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a little strange.
Yeah, you sent me all
But
those songs a long time ago, and they all hold up to me. I mean, it sounds like what they were all instrumentals because you didn't have the singer yet, but it sounds like Warhead. It sounds like where Warhead would be today if you were continuing to do it over all these decades. And 40 something years later, I mean, a lot has come into play over those years musically. So nobody expects it to sound
mhm.
exactly like the early days. That would be impossible to
No,
do. You're in a certain time and place, but I think what you're doing now sounds phenomenal, and it does. If you're a Warhead fan, you'll say this is Warhead.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and
That's good to know.
look, the thing is, Mike, that bands that are still around from 40 years ago that really haven't evolved as bands and just stayed the same. Like I think I've lost interest in some of those bands. Like you want to see them grow as musicians and their musical tastes grow. It's just the natural progression, you know. And I think anything you hear out of Tom and I in the near future is going to be, of course, Warhead, but it's going to have a new sound to it, man. That I think people are going to like.
I agree, and I think so. It's a funny thing with fans, because
Hmm.
they, fans that were around, like, I want to say our age group, but we're kind of up there now. But people that were around back in the
Yeah.
seventies and eighties, like we were. I mean, you think that music is going to live on forever, and you want to hear Warhead doing Warhead like decade after decade, and it doesn't happen all the time. And when bands break up and get back
No.
together, a lot has come into play. I mean, listen, you probably couldn't tell the difference from the first AC/DC record to the last one. They repeat the same sound, the same song, album after album. And somebody said that to Angus one time, he goes, "You made 13 albums that all sound the same." It's like, no, we didn't. We made 14 records that all sound the same. They know what they're doing. They know what their fans want, and
Yeah.
they
No,
give
no.
them that.
They had their formula and it
Yeah,
worked.
exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then he strayed from it.
Yeah, and you brought up ACDC. I still listen to every Bon Scott ACDC
Yeah.
album. They're every single one, like Power Age and Let There Be Rock. They're still on my playlist of every one of my playlists, man.
That's because
that.
a good song will always be a good song. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
it's the same with Iron Maiden. They never really strayed too far from the formula that made them famous. And
No,
I get it. If you know how hard it is to make it in this business, to get to that level, that stadium level, that arena level. When you get there, I guess you do everything you have to do to keep it. Whether it's writing the same record over and over again and not changing the sound, you don't want to tinker with the formula, I guess. But as a musician, it might be a little stifling where you've grown over all those decades, but you don't really change. And I guess that's why some of them have kind of side bands now, side projects to kind of like get that out of them.
yeah, but I mean, for Tom and I, look, we didn't have the luxury of being in Warhead for 40 years and playing every night and producing many albums with Warhead. So this is sort of like a new venture for us,
It
and
is.
it's really an exciting time. Like I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and we want to hear the fans' reactions to what we're doing, and you know, we want to get promoted. We want to get our music out there. We have the Instagram page. We're on Spotify and all the platforms, but it's still not really out there. It's only more exposed to our original fans. So this is great that we're doing this with you, to get our voices heard and let people know that like this is a new era for Warhead.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I hope you all join us for the ride and let's have fun. Let's just play music.
That's the
Absolutely.
great part about it today is that pressure of trying to make it and trying to get signed to that label back then is gone. Now you're really having fun doing it, and
Yeah,
it shows
exactly.
and it shoes in the music. But I mean, all these decades later, are you still gonna be able to carry all those sandbags up on stage with you? Or,
Look,
or you
I
gotta get the
think
young
I
guns to
think we're
come
gonna
in?
have now we're gonna have our kids do it.
Yeah.
I know. Mike, that was styrofoam popcorn, whatever. The
Oh,
peanut
okay.
popcorn.
Who the hell knows?
But
That's
Tom,
styrofoam.
we can't give away all our secrets now.
Right. Right.
Now every
You
time I
can't
see
say
a
Yeah.
secrets
sandbag
now.
out there,
You
I'm
got
like, is that
sandbags.
styrofoam in that sandbag? Come on, who these guys kidding? What kind
Yeah.
of fans?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. But
Yeah.
Mike, have you had a chance to listen to Assault on Brooklyn?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I bought that record when it came out.
Okay, so you heard the four songs that nobody's heard before,
I've heard
basically.
them, and I was at
Battle.
the live show when you performed it back in
Oh,
1984.
awesome.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
well, I'm glad that
Awesome.
they
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
So
this
we're
back.
gonna follow.
The live record is a great way with the extra songs in there for people like get back into Warhead again. For people that forgot about the band over the years, and there's so many young fans out there today, and they love buying these records when they come out because they feel like they're underground still, and it's going to win you over a
Oh.
lot of new fans. It's a great sounding record on top of that for a live record recorded back then.
But, so Mike, our Instagram page, we don't have that many followers. But the one thing we do get is these young metalheads. Like I'm getting messages from like these 25-year-old guys that are playing in bands that are listening to our music, and they're saying, "Oh my God, I love your stuff. Where can I see you live?" I'm like, "Well, that song was like 40 years old. I don't think you're going to see us, doing that show anytime soon."
Yeah.
But then, I don't know if this guy Bulldozer. He's actually singing with the Jeff Mantis version of
Yeah.
Venom right now.
Yeah.
He messages me all the time, and he loves our stuff. And he's a young guy from South Carolina that he is like a true early 1980s metalhead, but he's 25 years old.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
he he was such a big fan of Venom that Jeff Mantis got him to play bass and sing on their tour in Europe now.
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
he's a permanent.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
he has a band called Interceptor, and they're very reminiscent of
Interceptor,
like
yeah.
yeah, they're very reminiscent of like the early Venom in a way, a more modern version of early Venom. So when he performed with them
Yeah.
at that festival, I was like, holy crap! I'm like, this guy sounds like Kronos did back
He,
in the early '80s.
he,
It was amazing.
he's an animal.
Yeah,
So his band Interceptor was following Warhead, and Bulldozer would message me all the time. He's like, "Man, I love your stuff. I'd love to play with you guys. Like we could open up for you." And I told him the Warhead story, and he's just a cool dude, man. And to hear these young guys that feel the same way that we did when we were 20 years old, and it's just it's so nice to see like these young guys coming up, listening to the same music that we did 40 years ago, and they're playing it. And imagine what it's like for him to play with Mantis. Like
yeah.
he was, right? I mean, it's crazy. But I'm so happy for him, man. It's just a great opportunity, and hopefully Interceptor uh, gets big too with this, because now he's making a name for himself.
That'll definitely give the band a boost. Being out there with these two guys on tour, and they're doing a lot of the big metal festivals over in Europe right now, so they
Yeah,
get a lot of attention. And I love it. Like I always say on the shows, I think back to like when I was a kid, I couldn't stand the music my parents played in the house. They played the '50s and the '60s stuff. I couldn't get into that stuff. Back then. Now I love it because I'm older. I appreciate it more.
yeah,
But
you
and
listen to everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
and to see these young kids today, like my son, I took him to Iron Maiden and Motorhead Dio back in the day. He's into more of the Slipknot and
yeah,
shit like that, but he's still a metalhead. But he's also 40 years old now. But it's a different story. But I'm saying, these young kids really appreciate what like guys like you were doing back then. They realize just how good that music was.
yeah. No, it's funny because I turned my two. I got a 29-year-old daughter and a 27-year-old son, and they know every Iron Maiden song. They know Motorhead songs. Look, they still listen to the rap or whatever's popular now, but I took them to Maiden shows. They know all about it. And it's good. And they know, Dad's still a headbanger.
That's the most
Oh,
important.
oh,
How far out you think it would be if you were offered a show that you would be able to do a live show? Is it something that you could do kind of on the quick, or do you have to really get more things together first before that comes up?
no, well, Tom and I talk about it. It's definitely on the table for the future. But I think for now we're more interested in getting our material out and writing new songs for an album to come out, and then see what that brings. If it brings enough of a following that people are requesting to see us live, we'd absolutely do it.
The
Yeah, we
festival
will.
circuit would
So,
eat you guys up. Like all those festivals in Germany, they would love to see you guys on the bill. I can guarantee it.
we we
Mm,
we have Jürgen Schamler in Germany, and he's a critic, and he writes for Satan Cult. But he has like four other magazines that he deals with in Germany. He's the one who introduced us to Helmet at the Underground Power to release Assault on Brooklyn. But he loves us. I mean, he's like
yeah,
our number one. He's our number one fan, and he mentioned to me many times. I mentioned the Keep It True festival that somebody recommended to me, and he told me in Germany they have like bigger festivals than the Keep It True festival. So, and I think that this year was in Germany actually, the Keep It True
yeah.
festival. But
Yeah,
yeah, Germany. So what I heard was a lot of metal bands in the States, when they get a deal, independent deal, that independent label tries to get distribution in Germany. So we're ahead of the game because we already have our
yeah.
base in Germany already.
Yeah.
That's a place
So
where
we'll
metal
see.
never
Yeah,
died. It never died in Germany. Same
No,
thing
it's
with South
crazy, right?
America and South
Yeah,
America, Japan. You see these 19-year-old kids in South America wearing the denim vest with all the bands on there, and the patches. I'm like, holy cow, this is just
yeah,
great that it's not a revival. Like,
yeah,
when the 50s came back again, it was like a short revival, and, those bands play with no original members or one guy, Clyde McFadden's Platters, and stuff like that. But, I'm
yeah.
just saying, this came back big and it came back strong.
No, but
but
do you remember when Flight 66, the movie came out, the Iron Maiden movie,
Yeah, yeah.
and they they played all over the world, and they were headlining in South America in countries that they've never been to, Colombia, I forget, Brazil or Venezuela or whatever, all these countries in South America, and they would fill up 900,000 seat arenas or in the field, and these kids were crying like they never, like 19, 20-year-old kids thought they would never get to see Iron Maiden. They were like standing there crying, like listening to the music. And it just shows you how powerful it is,
Yeah.
and how far it expands, the globe. That, this music it's still alive, man. It's just, it's great to see that.
It really is. And you know what?
you
None
know,
of us
Mike,
are getting
Mike,
younger, so we got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
with Warhead, I wanted to try and keep it me, Neil, Mike, and Ron. And so when I was telling you, I finally got a hold of Ron through it was through Neil's Instagram page, believe it or not. And we sent him these songs, and he had for how long, Neil? Almost 2 years, right?
2 years, yeah,
And
over 2
I'm
years.
waiting for him. Ron's like, he has a house. He's got all this music gear in the room. And he's like, I have to empty out the room and get my 4-track. I'm like, Ron, just play the music on one iPhone and record it on another iPhone. That's
Yeah.
that's what people do.
Yeah.
It's much simpler than getting the old Fostex and breaking it out and setting it up like a PA system. I said, just so. Having said that, we waited about 2 years, and then he finally told me I have nothing. Which I can't believe, because he wrote the lyrics to those original songs like in 2 seconds. So maybe over time he just lost it. I don't know. But
Yeah.
luckily we found Michael Cosiero, and he's the guy. He's the guy we're going to be working with. So if we do a show, Michael will be singing, obviously, for us.
Oh,
And
Mike's a great singer, and he does justice to the music that you guys are writing and putting out there. So, listen, nothing stays the same. There are
Yeah.
bands that have been out there for the last 40 years that had multiple singers and multiple guitar players and bassists and drummers, and are still out there doing it, and people are still showing up. I don't think people care as much
yeah,
anymore. They just want to hear the good music again. That's all they want to hear.
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's what we're going to keep doing, man. We're going to keep producing good music, and look, Tom and I love doing this. We're having fun, and that's the main thing, man. You see some of these bands that've been around for 100 years, and they're playing these shows, these festivals, and it's just a job. It's not like they're having fun up there anymore. We are, man. We want to produce new music. We want to bang our heads and play and just have fun, man, and let the world see us.
And that's
We're not
that's
we're
what you
not
should be doing.
angry. We're not angry. We don't have any issues. Like I've heard stories about some bands that
Oh, yeah.
we all grew up with that would scare you. Like knowing that they just do it as a job. You know what I mean? They don't like each other anymore.
That's
Yeah.
Aerosmith.
It's well, no, yeah. There's a lot. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard the stories. So we don't have that. We just want to have a good time. And so basically, with the new material, we want to see if we create some kind of a following.
Yeah.
Before we decide if we're going to do a show or not. Because there has to be a call for it. If there's a call for us to do it, we'll do it. So let's
I
see.
completely
Let's see
get
what
that.
this
Well,
Yeah.
guys,
next album
talking
does
about
for
the
us.
original days of the band when you had all these contracts on from different labels and stuff. Did you ever, was there one that you really came close to pulling the trigger on, or you just wasn't sure which way to go with it at that time?
I don't know. Maybe the meeting with Case Wessels from Roadrunner. I don't know, because we still just like at that time we had the interest from Atlantic. So And the way that was going was, I was waiting for him to get back to me. He had to meet with this guy, with, whoever he had to meet with within Atlantic Records. And I actually really thought that maybe we could get signed to a major instead of an independent.
Yeah.
But they weren't ready for this kind of music then. So
Well, yeah, Tom, the route that most of these bands like Metallica and Anthrax, they all were signed to these independents, and then
well, had we signed with Johnny Z after Anthrax,
oh
who
yeah,
knows? What metal would be different now because they'd be the big five or whatever. You know what I mean? Warhead would be up there with, with
yeah.
Slayer. And it is funny because after we met with Case Wessels, they put out the compilation album, The 12 Commandments in Metal, with Anthrax and Slayer and Warhead.
Yeah, no, that's
album,
funny. Yeah,
So,
but Mike, yeah. So we did have the interest from these independent labels, and Mike, Tom, and myself did discuss signing with one of these labels, but we were also waiting for the next one because we knew there was just so much interest, and like I said earlier, we were just being pulled in so many directions without any real management to help us.
No, we never discussed money with any label. So never even got to that point. It didn't get to that point. And Neil mentioned Joe Peskin, who bought TNT over from whatever country they were from to the States. I don't know where they came from. Sweden? I don't know.
Norway, I think.
Norway? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
He bought them over, and he wanted to represent us, but I don't know what happened to him. He kind of like fizzled,
Yeah, we basically did everything on our own. Like we got the gigs on our own, and again with the like you were shopping all these record labels and getting in contact with them, but they were contacting us.
Yeah, you know why, Neil? We really had a great thing, with the show and everything, with the camouflage. Like look at Anthrax. They do. Would they have all their camouflage now? I remember seeing them dressed up in camouflage. I'm like, where? I know where they got that from. They got it from us. So it was a big thing. That's why everybody wanted to get their hands on us.
Yeah, but now, Mike, now you see like all these bands like they wear the camouflage cargo shorts. We were the first. Remember that?
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Well, it fit the image of Warhead, and when you talk about like I could imagine like you have all these offers on the table, or propositions made to you about getting a record out, and then you get one from a major label. I know me the way I would be. I would only be focused on that major label. I want to think about the other ones. That's all I would hope for. And then if it doesn't pan out, the other ones kind of disappear because I don't know how long the offers stay on the table. It has to be a big regret. But when you think about, I think it was '84 that I saw Metallica, Raven, and Anthrax at the Roseland Ballroom in Manhattan, and that was the night Metallica.
I remember that show.
That was the night Metallica got signed to Elektra, Anthrax got signed to Island Records or Atlantic, I don't remember, and Raven got signed to another major label, and that was when everything changed. That's when every major label wanted a metal band. You guys were there a little earlier than all this happened. You guys were like, just missed it.
Yeah, no, we were right there, man, and it's just unfortunate that we started imploding, and Ron left, and we didn't have like a bigger force holding us together, which I think we really needed because we didn't know how to do it on our own, or else we still would have been doing it, But look, Mike, there's no regrets,
There shouldn't be.
We did what we did, and we had fun, and now we're back,
Listen, when you guys started out and were putting all these songs and music together, nobody ever thought that metal was going to explode and become like the biggest thing for the rest of the '80s. It was just I'm in a band, I'm happy to play some clubs. If I can get a record deal, I'll be happy. But nobody thought of that next level. Nobody ever thought it was going to get to that next level at that point in time.
No, and then you know what got me really crazy at that period when remember like all these bands were getting signed, then you had like that whole LA thing where all these hair bands from LA were getting signed, and that was like the biggest thing. And I was listening to Venom and Motorhead and Discharge, and then you hear these bands that Firehouse or whatever, these bands from L.A. that they weren't even metal, but they had long hair and they played guitar, and they put us all in this same category. It just changed, you know.
Yeah.
MTV. You had all these. I don't even know the names of the bands, but you had them all dressed up with their hairdos and everything, and Tom and I were so not like that, man. We weren't into that. We were into just playing music, man, not like dressing up and doing that stupid shit. They ruined it. They ruined metal because like that hair metal thing because
Oh,
it,
absolutely.
it
Musically, they
it
killed
wasn't
it.
even because it wasn't metal. Again, they just put us all in the same category, and that's what ruined it.
The only good thing that came out of that was more girls were at the clubs, even though they weren't interested in guys like me.
No,
They,
yeah,
they, they were interested in the
no,
band only, but I mean, they brought more girls to the club. That was the only good thing that came out of it. Because in the old days, it was
no,
me and 200 other guys crammed up against each other,
yeah,
sweating on each other. And now we had a couple of girls in
yeah,
there. Like, hey, it's all right.
no, it's crazy. Yeah, you go to these early shows and it was just us, man, just guys hanging out, listening to great music.
I mean,
But
you
yeah,
got
they like remember going to Lemoore in Brooklyn. Like once everything exploded, all the girls, it was just crazy, man. It
that's
was
how
a
it got.
good time to be into music. Yeah.
I'm just lucky that Lamore had Dizzy as a waitress back in the day because it made my night. Just
Oh, Dizzy, yeah,
it made my whole night.
yeah.
That
Oh
was that was the best part
man,
about it.
man,
But
you just brought back memories, man.
yeah, well, I
Wow,
used to wait for
that
her to
was
walk
good
around with
stuff.
that little teddy bear in her tray, and
Yeah,
I used to make her feel so bad for me because
yeah,
I was a kid back then. I used to go to like in 82, 83, and I wasn't allowed to get in. It was,
yeah.
I think the drinking age was only 18 back then. It went up like a year later to 21, but thank God for her
No, it went
because
to
every time
19 first, if you
19,
remember.
I don't even remember. I
Yeah,
barely remember anything past yesterday these days. Oh, that's just the way life
yeah.
goes.
But yeah, Dizzy, man, that was good stuff.
Yeah, but listen, I'm glad you
And
guys are still
you know
doing it,
what?
man. I'm happy.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us, man.
Yes,
This is
we
really
appreciate
good,
it.
man.
Oh, it's
And
my
just to
pleasure.
know that there are people like you, people like you around that are doing this, man, that love the music, and you're taking the time to do it, man. And much respect for that, man.
Well,
Yeah.
this was my wife's idea to get her out of my hair for a couple hours each week, so I had to go for it.
Yeah. No, but it's fun. It's fun, man. You get to talk to people and hear stories and listen to great music. What's better than that, man?
It's the best, and I look at it this way. When Lee Aaron came around playing live in the '80s, I used to go see her because she was hot. I don't care what anybody says, she was hot,
Yeah.
especially in that red spandex. And then 30, 40 years later,
Yeah.
I talked to Lee Aaron every couple of months on on the show or on the phone. So a lot,
Really? Oh, that's
and let
great.
me tell you, she still looks pretty good. She still looks really good.
Wow.
Yep.
No, that's so cool, man.
So
Wow.
how bad can it be? I'm talking to you guys tonight. I've been listening to your music for almost 40 years now. I mean, life is good.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
I'm glad to. Hey, I listened to that Tommy Bolin interview, and
Tommy's
he's a
crazy.
fellow Queens native.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. So look, I worked at Sam Ash on 48th Street, 1983, and that was when they were, I think they were Allied forces then,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they all came into That's how I knew everybody. I knew Tommy, Mike, the drummer. I think the drummer went to high school with. Um, so that was pretty cool hearing that interview and hearing what he's doing now with NYC. It
Yeah.
was
I
a
mean,
great
I
interview, man.
I thought I could talk my ass off and talk fast. Tommy's got me beat by a
Oh
million
my
miles a
God,
minute. He
no,
just
no,
he even I was like,
uh,
what was that? I had to take notes when I talked to him because I can't remember what the hell he
no.
left
It
off
was
at.
like remember when we were kids and you hear like a Ted Nugent interview
Yeah.
on that's what it was. with,
Yeah. He's full of
but
life.
with a Queen's accent,
Yeah. Exactly. He's got a lot of life in him.
Yeah.
That guy.
Oh my God, it's good. Look, it's good to hear that people are still doing it, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, um, again, we were all hanging out on 48th Street, just playing guitar and trying to play some gigs, and still doing it. It never leaves you, man.
I know. For a musician, that was the place to be. Manhattan at that time. It's all gone now.
Oh
It's all gone.
yeah.
All gone.
Now you remember, like as a kid, a teenager, going to 48th Street, and there was nothing but guitar shops
Yep.
and And I bought my Rickenbacker bass at Rudy's Music, 1979. I walk in there, and I think the guitars were like $400, man. I didn't have enough to pay for it, but one of the salesmen follows me outside. He says, "Listen, I have a Rickenbacker. I'll sell it to you for $275."
Wow.
And I bought it. It was a year old, and because I wanted to play like Lemmy,
Yeah.
that's all I cared about. I wanted to be the next Lemmy,
That was a great bass.
I still have it, but it was just a great place to go. Like I took the E train, the F train to 48th Street, and just look at the guitars and play every one of them. It was fun. Then I worked there, man, and I met everybody working there. Because every band that came into town stopped at 48th Street.
Yeah.
That was the place to be.
Cool.
And that was, my first real bass was a Rickenbacker 401, and I paid $400 for it used. Like it was like a year old. It was like an 81. I got it in 81. It was an 80. The greatest basses ever.
Oh, man, I love it, man. But, look, I remember hearing Roger Glover from Deep Purple, and like the Smoke on the Water when you hear that bass come in. And then, like, seeing Lemmy play the Rick, it was just, like, to me, it was the coolest thing, man. That was just a cool bass.
It was a great time for music. I just loved it and I missed it. But listen, I'm going to let you guys go in 2 minutes because I'm going to play another song. And I had such a great time talking with the both of you. Listen, you guys come on anytime you want to promote anything you want, and we'll keep this conversation going.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
thank you, Mike.
You're the best, man. You're really doing a great thing. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it very much, and I can't wait to see you guys live. I know it's coming soon. It might be a few months, a few years, but I will be out there front and center, just like in the old days of my camouflage pants.
Oh, awesome. Hey, we're going to send you World at War, hopefully next week, the finished version.
Oh, perfect. And I'll play that next Sunday.
Oh, great. All right, man. Thank you.
Neil Tom, take care,
you,
guys.
Mike.
It was great talking to you. Talk again soon.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on the Children of War. They did a great job on this song, man. And if this is what's to come, you guys are going to be really happy. Oh man, how good is that? These guys have nothing to worry about, man. Michael did a great job on the vocals, and I'm sure he's going to sound just as good on all the other stuff they put out. And I hope they do a live show pretty soon. It was good talking about Disney. I I know I told the story before. I think it was like 1982 or 1983 was the first time I went to Lemoore. I was like 16 years old, or 15 that summer. I was going to be 16 that fall, and I remember getting there like 1 o'clock in the afternoon because it says doors open at 6 o'clock at night. And I got there with two of my friends, and I remember some guy walked by and he's like, "What are you kids doing here?" I'm like, "We're here to." It was Quiet Riot and Talos were playing, so maybe it was '83. I don't remember. Whenever Mental Health came out, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I go, "We're here to see the band. Show starts at 6 o'clock." He goes, "The bands won't be on until probably 1 o'clock in the morning." He goes, "The doors open at 6 o'clock. The first band don't come out like after midnight." And I was like, "Oh shit, my father's gonna kill me." I told him I'd be home at this time. Blah blah blah. My other two friends bolted when they heard that. They didn't want to stay, but I wasn't leaving. And like 15, 20 minutes later, Quiet Riot showed up in the tour bus to do a sound check. And I always tell us, I mean, Frankie Benali and I became good friends when I started doing the show years ago. And until he passed away, we talked a lot and kept in touch. I remember he came out with two girls hanging on both arms. Kevin DuBrow came out with two girls on both arms. Rudy came out. Carlos came out. They were hanging out together. They all stopped to sign. I was like looking for scraps of paper on the floor because I never thought I was going to see the band there. I was such a big fan, being such a big fan of Randy Rhoads when he was in the band, knowing that they were still together and doing it now. I was looking for scrap paper on the floor for them to sign. Everybody signed, an autograph form. I was like so excited. And Kevin DuBrow looked at me like that attitude he had back then, like he was like above and beyond everybody else, and just like scribbled it threw the paper at me on the floor. And I remember telling Frankie that story, and it's like, yeah, he goes, I know. I told Rudy Sosa the story too. Rudy actually remembered it because Rudy has like this eidetic memory; he don't forget anything, and that turned me off to the band so much after that because of the way Kevin behaved, like with me and probably with every fan that he had back then. But I remember getting into the doors, and they wouldn't let me in because I was too young. And some guy was walking by. He goes, I work in the back. I do sound or whatever. He goes, I'll sneak you in the back door. He goes, well, don't let me catch you near the bar. Stay against the back wall and don't go near the stage. I was like, okay. And he put me in through the back door, the backstage door, which is in the front of Lemoore. And I just stood there the whole night. And I remember it was like 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I think Towers just came on like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I was supposed to be home at midnight. I said, my father was going to kick my ass when I get home. But I lived in the neighborhood too back there. It was only like 15 minutes away. But it was the best night of my life, seeing those bands. I wish my friends would have stuck around with me, but I was there alone. But what a great night and what a great time. And I remember seeing Dizzy there for the first time. I was like, oh my God, this girl is gorgeous. And she was a knockout back then. And after that, I went and got a fake ID at Butterflies, a store in the village. I started going to all the shows after that using the fake ID. And like we were talking, yeah, I think the drinking age was 18 and went to 19. Then it went to 21 a year after that. So I had to keep changing the IDs all the time, to get into the clubs like you get to 21. But they were great times over there. And I remember like going every weekend. The waitresses would walk around with their trays. And Disney always had a stuffed bear in her tray. So you know when she was coming, like, because the tray would be up in the air when there was a big crowd. And they always their job was to sell you beer. That was their job, to sell you drinks. I never had any money. I was like a 16-year-old kid. I barely had enough money to get into the place. It took me forever to save up to $5 to buy a ticket. And that's what it cost back then to go into Le Mans most of the time. It was $5 for a ticket back in the early 80s. And it was so great. And I remember she used to walk by. And one night I was standing there. And she always come up to me if I wanted something. I was like, no, 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 no. Because I never had money. I was a kid. And one night she came out, she saw how hot and sweaty I was, and she gave me a free beer, and that was it. I was in love. And that was life back then. Good times. I miss those days. I really do. All right, let's get back to the music. How about some Savage Grace? The doctor is in the house.
war turns on its axis, in winter of mass discontent. Deep in the throes of the Ardennes, the pulses begin closing in. Death was already upon us, as cold wind cuts through to the bone. 39 days and nights forward, there will be blood in the snow. Deter them from claiming our lives in the siege. We are weary, we will not fall. Come straight from numbers, we can't claim us all. Take up arms, lead the charge, counter, strike, bury them in vain. Take up arms, lead the charge, counter, strike, crush their soul. Turning, we won't accept defeat. Forcing them back now. Unrelenting. We will not fall. Come strength in numbers, they can't claim us all. Take up arms, lead the charge, counter, strike, bury them in vain. Take up arms, lead the charge, counter, strike, crush their souls.
All right, brand new music from the Unknown Ardennes Offensive. Before that, Christian wanted to hear Lofton with Dead Then Red. He wanted me to play that on the 4th of July show that was already recorded for this week. So I told him I'd get it on tonight for his request. And he wanted Keel for the 4th of July show. So lucky you, Christian. I already played that on the show. And you'll hear it this Thursday at 12 o'clock for the holiday matinee. 4th of July special. And before that, Savage Grace, Fight for Your Life, The Doctor. I mean, we had Christian Logan on the show a couple of years ago when they put out that new record, and I was on the fence about asking him about that, but I did. And he kind of danced around it, if I remember. He didn't really give us a direct answer, but he was pretending. The story was he was pretending to be a doctor somewhere down in South America, and he was treating patients. He didn't have a medical degree, didn't have any medical training. And I mentioned it to him, and he went off on another tangent about something with medicine. I don't even remember. I have to actually go back and listen to that interview again. But he was a fun guy to talk to, so it was good for that. But that's the way life goes, right? All right, we're going to wrap it up here tonight. One more tune. I want to thank Neil and Tom for being on tonight's show. I had a great time talking with them. It's always fun when you get to talk to fellow New Yorkers. It really is. And earlier in the show, I was saying that over the last couple, I mean, like a month or so ago, I was talking about a lot of those bands that were getting canceled from the German festivals because some of the drummers, like Mark Zonder from Warlord, who we had on, I think, the week before last, is very outspoken about being a supporter of Donald Trump. And the same thing with the drummer Larry Howe from Vicious Rumors and some other people. They were canceling their shows. Frank Gilchrist from Riot, and the promoters were canceling. We spoke all about that, but now I'm seeing that. I saw that a few weeks ago when I came back from my last vacation. That what was it? Oh my God, I'm trying to remember the name of the band now. Tail Gunner, a great band that KK Downing is working with and produced their last record. A classic traditional metal band. They just got canceled from some of the festivals because the drummer was accused of sexual harassment or whatever. Not the drummer, the bass player. So he stepped down from the band. Now I don't know what went on. I didn't hear the whole story. I just saw like a little blip of it on Facebook when I went on that day. And the singer and the guitar player, who's a girl, quit the band. Otherwise, they kicked her out of the band. They told her to sit out the tour. So I don't know if there was something between the two of them or not. But next thing you know, Keep It True knocked them off and canceled them from the festival, from the bill, and then other ones started doing the same thing. So the status of the band today is unknown. This was a great band of young kids. Who really, I think, had a promising future in this business. And who knows what's going to happen with them now? Then I think it was last week, I saw the band Trencher. They're being promoted for one of the festivals, the Blades of Steel Festival in Milwaukee. Somebody got on there and said, oh, they had an issue with the bass player in the band, and he said something with a guitar player in the band, and he made some racial comments. Now, it was nasty what he said. It really was. And there was no need for that. I'm not saying anything that these bands are doing are right, but I hate cancel culture. Even if it's went against bands, people, and that I'm not fond of a fair, I still don't like it because anybody can be canceled for anything that they say, and people go along with it. It seems to be a younger generational thing where they think it's okay for that to happen. And then the other day with Trench, I saw a lot of people talking about it. What he did say, what the guy did say was really vile and disgusting. And I don't know if it just came out in the heat of the moment or what, but it shouldn't have been said on stage. But you just don't cancel a band because of that. The guy did come out and apologize. I mean, right or wrong, you have to look at it your way. But are you going to stop being a fan of music because the guy says something stupid? Yeah, it happens in the heat of the moment sometimes. So, I've moved past that in my life, but these younger people get, this woke generation, they get so offended by it. So that band's been canceled. They kind of deleted everything from their Facebook page. I don't know what's going on with them. Then I saw Claire from Breaker the other day. Christian went to the festival this weekend, that Glam Festival in Queens. Had a lot of bands on the bill. Look, why Breaker was on the bill is beyond me. They're not a glam metal band, so I don't know why they were on there. But somebody sexually harassed, I think they touched her. Now, that's wrong in any way, form, and sense of the way. It should not happen at all by anybody. But I'm listening to the way she's complaining about it on there, and she's like, I'll never do a glam sleaze festival again. They shouldn't have been on there to begin with because they're not part of that scene. And, to tell that, to say, and she actually named the guy that did it. She must have known from somewhere. Maybe he thought it was okay. It's really not okay, but he must have thought it was. And I'm reading what she's writing on there, and I'm like, you just kind of label the entire glam metal scene as a bunch of sleazeballs and dirtbags. Because one guy did something to you, which he shouldn't have done. I agree with you on that. But people like this, these young kids, they seem to forget that the girls of their generation, their mothers and their grandmothers, these were the groupies that were going with every band member they could find back in the 70s and 80s. These were the girls that were giving blowjobs to every band member they could get a hold of. They weren't being forced to do it. They were doing it on their own free will. A lot has changed in the last 40 years, but maybe these people should attack the women that came before them instead of attacking the men that are still stupid and doing dumb stuff like that today. And don't criticize the whole. I mean, I'm not a fan of glam metal. We were just talking about that with Neil and Tom, but I'm not a fan of the music myself personally, but don't criticize an entire scene for one bad person doing something stupid in there. It just makes no sense to me. And like, they only like these young bands. I love that they've come into like the traditional metal sound they do, but man, they are so woke and so soft about everything. They just don't have the stomach. I mean, these people would have never survived if they were born with the mentality they have today in the 80s. Should the guy have touched it? Absolutely not. I agree with him 100%. That should have never happened. But, maybe you should talk to the women that let it happen 30, 40 years ago because they created a situation that shouldn't have happened from the day one, but they did. That's all I got to say about that. I'm not going to touch that no more. All right. Behind the trash dumps at Lemoore's. Yeah, you're right, John. That did happen back then. All right. Let's wrap it up here tonight. Like I said, I want to thank Tom and Neil for being on tonight's show. I appreciate that like always. Next week, we got a great show for everybody. Sean Murphy wrote a great book about Ottawa metal scene. He's in a metal band himself. We'll be talking to him more about the book than anything else. We'll touch on the bands that he plays in, and we're going to do that. And Stormforce is on the show next week, so don't forget to tune in. All right, how about we wrap it up tonight with some Merciful Fate, Curse of the Pharaohs. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday night.